Hey, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. I don't know what's going to happen.
Let's go pleasuring. Oh yeah. Did you see that?
I'm watching.
I'm doing it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Lost Wax 2, the channel where I just do whatever I want. Today I'm going to show you how I made this. It's called a Plezuh. It's a Slovenian single ski sled contraption that I think actually comes from traditional roots. I'm not 100% sure because I don't speak Slovenian and all the YouTube videos were Slovenian. So anyways, it looks like they have a lot of fun on these, and I think I would like to have a lot of fun on one too. So let's make it. The first thing I did was go into my garage and find an old set of skis. Each set of skis will make 2 Plezuhs. I also made sure my skis were made in Slovenia for ultimate historical accuracy. I removed the bindings from one of the skis using a screwdriver and my brain to figure out how to do it. I marked the length of my ski at 90 centimeters from the tip, and then made a mark 62 centimeters from the back of the ski. This back part will be stacked on top of the ski for extra strength. I then went out in my freezing cold garage and used a cutoff wheel to cut through the metal ski edges. Then I grabbed a hacksaw and cut the rest of the way through the ski. If you've ever wondered what the inside of a Slovenian ski looks like, wonder no more. I repeated the process on the second line and then used a grinding wheel to smooth the back corners where I'd cut it. I grabbed some scrap wood and breathed coldly while standing in a cloud of swirling dust for more effect. I did some computer designing and some computer printing. 2 of the pages needed to be taped together, so I did that on my fancy window, so I could see through the paper a bit better and line up the crosses. I then checked the print guides to confirm that it had printed at actual size, which is important. I cut out the pattern and made sure it all went together and looked like a Plezuh. I then transferred my pattern to my pieces of wood, making sure to mark them for non-mix-upability. By this time my garage was way too cold to work in, so I cleaned up my basement a bit and called it a workshop. I cut my boards on all the lines I was supposed to cut on, and stacked them on top of each other in their appropriate positions. I then pre-drilled and screwed in the top brace. You'll notice that the screws are kind of diagonal from each other, and that's so I can use the opposite diagonal on the back side and not have the screws ram into each other in the middle. You'll also notice the top edge of the back leg is protruding slightly above the top brace. So I used some crazy horse hoof file to get it all even. Then I could set it upside down on my table to make sure everything was nice and square, clamp my second top brace in position, and screw it in. And there's some legs. I went back to my tiny little ski and smoothed out the screw holes where the previous bindings had been, so that the skis could sit nice and flat on top of each other. I lined up the back of the seat stand 11 centimeters from the back of the ski, so I could place the other screws somewhere where it wasn't. I then used 2 of the existing binding holes as well as drilling 4 more, drilling them through the top ski and into the bottom ski without drilling all the way through the bottom of the bottom ski. Of course, I also made sure the screws were the right length so they wouldn't go through the bottom of the bottom ski either. All the holes on the top piece I re-drilled a larger size, so the screw threads would only engage with the bottom ski and clamp the top tightly down against it. I also countersunk all the holes to make sure the screw heads wouldn't interfere with the seat stand when I installed it. Next I'm going to attach the 2 bottom braces to the skis. I'm going to have to angle the screws as they go in so they don't end up too close to the edge of the skis. They also need to be the right length so they don't stick out the bottom of the skis either. I clamped some offcuts between the bottom braces to make sure they had the right spacing. I then drilled in my nice angled holes, which was a little bit of a pain because my bit wasn't long enough, so I had to kind of drill it in 2 stages. By the time I was done, I ended up with 3 screws holding each brace to the ski. Check to make sure the legs fit where they're supposed to. Yup. I grabbed a 3/4 inch sheet of plywood and cut it down so it was 22.5 centimeters wide and 40.5 centimeters long. Traced the angles for the seat front and chopped them off. I drew a line 92 millimeters from the front edge, did a bit of guess and check so I could center the seat support, and marked those lines. After tracing an offcut the same width as the top brace, I knew exactly where my screws would need to go to attach the seat. You may notice I positioned them so they wouldn't run into any of the screws going the other direction. I drilled all my screw holes from the back, then flipped it over and countersunk the tops. Then I took everything apart, took it out to my cold garage, and made it all smooth. It wasn't something totally necessary, but I figured it'll make it look a little bit nicer and it'll be a little bit safer. I used a bit of carpenter's glue on the final assembly and screwed the top braces back onto the legs, drilled and screwed the seat onto the top braces, and screwed the bottom braces back onto the skis. Before attaching the seat to the ski, I'm going to make a handle out of 3/4 inch PVC pipe. I cut a piece of PVC 150 centimeters long, marked the center, and marked 27 centimeters on either side of the center. I then used my heat gun to heat up the PVC at the 27 centimeter mark until it got nice and floppy and bendable, at which point I started to bend a curve into it. Of course, the tube wants to buckle a bit when I bend it, so I had to use my hands to apply pressure at the sides of the curve to keep that from happening. I didn't try to create a 90-degree bend all at once. First I heated it at that line, bent it as much as I could without it buckling, and let it cool and harden. Then I heated a little bit below the line and bent that section, and then I heated a bit above the line and bent that section a little bit until I had a 90-degree angle. I figured out where I wanted the center of my second curve to be, which I guessed at around 7 inches from the vertical other edge. I used the same heating, bending technique until I had this. I cut off the extra on the ends with my tubing cutter and screwed my fancy bent pipe handle system to the seat. I used 8 screws in total to hold the bar on because I wanted to make sure it was nice and secure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on this bar and I don't want it to come off in the middle of a sweet Plezuh run. And I screwed through the bottom braces to hold the legs to the ski. A little foam from my ceiling for comfort. Trace around the seat and cut it out with a very sharp knife. I did a foam pressing technique so I could mark where the screws were, and used my leather punches to cut them out. This is just in case I need to access those screws to take the seat off sometime in the future. I grabbed some low odor contact cement and covered the wooden seat and the foam pad. I let them dry till they were no longer tacky, and then put them together. All that was left was to add some class by removing the writing on the PVC pipe, and then it was time to take our Plezuhs out for a spin. Thanks, Slovenia.
Here we go. We're doing it. Whoa. Ah.
That didn't work.
Well, I hope that was interesting. We certainly had a lot of fun on our Plezuhs. Also, my apologies to any Slovenians if I'm saying the word Plezuh entirely wrong. I feel like it kind of takes sledding to a whole new level, a way trickier level, maybe a slightly more dangerous level, but also a lot more fun and interesting with room to improve. You know, after you're my age and have been sledding for a while, it kind of loses its interest factor, I guess. So it's nice to add something that actually takes a bit of skill, but isn't too hard to, you know, get back up the hill. It's not like skis where, say, then you'd have to take off your skis at the bottom of the hill, carry them up the hill with your nice hard ski boots on that are slipping down the hill. Whereas with this, you could just grab the handle and carry it back up the hill and you're good to go Plezuhing again. So I like that. It's a fun little thing. The other thing that worked really well was this handle I made. The handles I saw online were all just like a straight handle that stopped here. And so then you just have a straight stick kind of thing, which I feel like would be a little more dangerous. Plus also if it goes to the side, then that stick is gonna stick into the snow and dig in and maybe stop you, whereas this, it'll just go on its side and then you can kind of right it again and keep going. I wasn't sure if the 3/4 PVC would be strong enough, but it really is, because it comes around and back. That adds tons of strength to the PVC. It's a really quick project and it's really cheap. The only thing I had to buy from the store was the 3/4 inch PVC, and that was less than $10. So yeah, and it doesn't actually use a ton of wood, just a couple 2x4s and a couple 1x2s. Anyways, I'll put the pattern I made for this somewhere on my website. I'll put a link up here somewhere if you want to grab it. It'll be free. It could be helpful if you want to make a Plezuh. Also, thanks to Slovenia for inventing this. Thanks for watching. See ya. Yeah, that was way better than a toboggan as far as hardness of getting down the hill alive.
The level of difficulty is considerably greater.
Which makes it more exhilarating and more, what's that when you feel better inside? More
satisfactory?
Satisfying.
Satisfying.
Pleasurable. I pleasurable. To do that.
How's it for being able to steer?
Getting better as we get better.
So it's something you can improve on, that's good.
Yeah, it's like skiing. The first day you went skiing, could you do like a wicked crazy jump with your legs all flying in the air? No. It's like that. By the time we've done this for 20 years, I'll be retired. Don't do any sharp moves.